Welcome to a very chilly episode of Worthy Ones, the video series, where I take all of the issue ones that I read for the current comic book week and deem them worthy or not worthy. I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content and you like me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, guys, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit it now. So with that being said, we got a nice little episode for you this week. We got about 7 new issue ones to discuss. So let's not waste any more time and let's dive into it. The first book that we're going to talk about today is Critical Entertainment's Planetary Expansion Issue 1. This is more of a book that I'm letting you know that exists out there because I'm sure not many people have heard of it. This is a 44-page comic for the price of $5. This one is written by Christopher Retta, and the art is done by Alonso Molina Gonzalez. When it comes to this book, the artwork may be a little bit simplistic for some of you in the beginning, but I promise you as you read this comic book, the artwork does get a lot better, especially in the few action scenes that we do get in the beginning of this book. It does take place into the future. And you get to see these nice little panel layouts as it's not all just square boxes. So it's really nice as you progress through this comic book. Now, in this issue, this is more like a character piece around the surrounding plot here. And the plot is that there are 1,000 people that had been hand selected, right, to go aboard a starship that's headed to repopulate a new habitable planet. That's basically what's going on before the Earth actually dies, because obviously everybody knows that the Earth is going to die. So if we do research now and find a habitable planet, then we're going to start populating that new planet, and then we can transfer all our people there. And in this comic, you really do get introduced to some of the players that are going to be on this starship. You wind up seeing this guy who hooks up with this woman in the bathroom, and then her wife is actually there. You get introduced to an athlete. So you do get introduced to some of the characters that are going to be in this tale going forward. So after reading this book for me is worthy. It's a solid comic book. Again, this is a book that might be overlooked, but if you can get your shop to order it, I would be very curious to see the direction of this story, how these people get to this planet, how maybe they might survive on this planet. There's more chapters to come. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give this one a B-. I thought it was a pretty much just above average comic book. And I have a feeling this story is going to get better as it goes. So again, guys, if you're looking for something different, check out Planetary Expansion. This is issue 1. Hopefully you guys are dealing with my raspy voice. I cannot get better, man. This cough and this throat is just atrocious for me. But here we go. The next book that we're talking about is What If Galactus Transformed Gambit. This is issue 1. Obviously published by Marvel Comics. It's 32 pages for the price of $4. This book is written by Josh Trulio? That's how it is. Manuel Garcia. Man, I am struggling. Anyway, when it comes to What If comic books, they were like the absolute shit back in the day, right? I mean, there were stories where it was like based off of stories that actually happened in the Marvel Universe. Now we got to the point where this doesn't even really happen. Like, okay, yeah, Silver Surfer was a herald. There's other heralds of Galactus, but we have like five or six different books based off of the same story, just with different characters. This is just not very good concept right from the start, right? It's like, why do I want to see the same story but with just different characters? It just doesn't make sense. The last one was Hulk. I read that one. This one had to deal with Gambit. I'm reading this series digitally, right? It's just, for me, I was like, I don't know if I want to go out there and just kind of really get physical copies and own this in my collection. So anyway, when it comes to this comic book, we wind up seeing Gambit become a Herald of Galactus, right? And you wind up getting to see his powers are enhanced. He winds up going to go see the Collector. The Collector supposedly has this planet that I think Galactus came from, and Galactus wanted it, but then it's fake, right? I don't know. I just did not find this comic book worthy, right? It's like Gambit walking around off Collector's place. He's like hooking up with random alien women and stuff like that, or trying to, using his persuasion. And like, listen, could you just turn your brain off and have fun with this comic book? Yeah, absolutely you can. It's not like a horrible read, but when you have all these other comic books, it's not a necessary purchase. You're going to want to spend your $5 or $4 elsewhere, because this doesn't really add anything to it. Now, if there was like 13 or 12 comic books that Marvel was releasing each and every week, that might be a different story. But when they have like 50-something books a month, this is something that's going to be on the bottom of your must-read list, right? So at the end of the day, I'm giving this one a D+. It was just all right for me. Okay artwork, okay story, but it just doesn't accomplish anything. And it doesn't really want to make me read the other ones that are coming out in the near future. So I've been really anticipating this comic for a while because of 8 Billion Genies. When that book came out, I absolutely loved it. This one is The Lucky Devils. This is issue 1. This is by Image Comics. It's a 28-page comic for the price of $4. This one is written by Charles Soule, and the art is done by Ryan Brown. Now, if you did read 8 Billion Genies, you kind of know what to expect when it comes to the artwork here. Definitely has that similar vibe going on into it. The colors are quite interesting. When certain things happen as you progress through the comic book, right? It makes sense, okay? Like when the guy gets angry, he's all red, and it definitely makes sense. So what is this comic book about? Well, it's about these two devils who are very rebellious devils, and they want to take on hell themselves. They're tired of going through this grind every day, okay? But before we get into that, really it kicks off with these two main characters. There's this guy, I forgot his name. I don't know if it's Adam or something like that. And the other one is, her name is Star, and she's a nurse, and the other guy is like a professor. And what happens is you kind of get to see like their everyday life. It's just like how bad it is and how angry they might get and how much on the verge they might do bad things, but they don't do it because they're very good people. They help people every single day, right? And just things don't work out for them. And so you wind up just getting to see that everyday life for them. And then all of a sudden they wake up, they're in bed, right? And they wind up seeing these devils. And these devils give them kind of like this persuasion, right? Of to do certain things, right? To maybe make them more powerful. And they go into this like whole situation of like how so many devils are attached to a particular people. And the more powerful a person is, you might have that one lucky devil, right? That has it all. And it's a very interesting and intricate story. Like you really have to read it, but it is very much a worthy story. I found myself very intrigued with this book because what these devils do is they want to get these people more powerful, right? And they want to be on top of the food chain type of thing. And it's weird, man, but I really liked it. So hopefully it continues to get better as time goes along, and maybe I'll understand it a little bit more. I understand it. It's kind of just hard to explain it to you guys, at least. You know, that's always my weakness sometimes. But nevertheless, it's a great book. I give it a B+. I don't think it might be for everybody. And if you're expecting an 8 Billion Genies, I don't think it's quite at that level. I think 8 Billion Genies was just very unique in itself, but this is definitely a good read, and I highly suggest it. There's a lot of like devil and hell stuff going on this week. The next book we're talking about is Daredevil Unleash Hell, Red Band, issue 1, published by Marvel Comics, 32 pages, $5. Excuse me, written by Erica Schultz, and the art is done by Valentina Pinti. Now, the artwork in this book is pretty decent. It is a Red Band book. I don't think the Red Band books are very much Red Band. I don't think they're any different really than other Marvel comic books. Like if you looked at the Wolverine and Deadpool issue from last week, like that was a very gory book and it wasn't polybagged. So this polybag stuff is, for me, is just a gimmick. It doesn't mean anything. But the art is good in there. I like the opening scene the best, obviously, in my opinion, because I loved Elektra kind of going in Hell's Kitchen and just like going after all these guys that are producing all these drugs. You know, it just reminded me of like Breaking Bad for a minute, and I like that, right? But when it came to this overall story, it came about to this woman who is an artist, and she is wind up being possessed by Muse. Now, I know this is a big Daredevil character, and I'm not the biggest Daredevil fan, so I don't know the history of this character, so I'm not sure if this character is in character or what the point of this character really is, but we just find that she took over this artist, and now she just kills people, right? And we get to see kind of like this hell that this character is in. We wind up seeing Elektra kind of healing from her wounds based off of what happened in the, you know, Hell's Kitchen when she was busting all the people with the drugs. But for me, I just thought it was a weird story. I don't know. I'm like, okay, we got this character sitting on a chair full of bones. He's very artistic, and you know, there's things that were referenced from quite a while ago, back in 2017. Like that's a long time ago, and so I don't know. I didn't find myself very much into the story. And so for me, it's not worth it. If you guys liked it, just let me know in the comments below. I don't think it was very bad, but I think it just wasn't for me per se. I don't know. It was just kind of there. It wasn't a very memorable issue one to maybe go, oh my God, like I got to pick up the second issue here. So let me know in the comments below what you thought. I'm just going to give this one an average C. It's there. Not memorable for me. New Champions. This is issue 1, published by Marvel Comics. It's a 32-page comic for the price of $5. This one is written by Steve Fox, and the art is done by Iguara. Now, what the artist accomplishes here is that it really captures your attention within the first couple of pages, going, hey, look at what I can do. I can go do these nice little action shots, nice little one pin-up pages to showcase all the characters. Let's get bright, very vibrant colors in the comic book to make the reader, you know, capture their attention there. So I think the artwork does a really nice job. Now, back in the day, well, I wouldn't say back in the day, I would say like 10, 12 years ago, we got introduced to the original Champions, and they were like legacy characters, like a Miles Morales. You got Sam Alexander as like Nova. You wind up getting to see like Ms. Marvel. So you wind up getting to see those types of characters. And we're trying it again with these group, right? Now these guys, same thing, are kind of like, they're not legacy characters, but they're like almost like generic versions of characters that you know, because they were kind of created by Hydra, right? And if you read the last Spider-Woman series, you would understand what has happened. But if you haven't, that's okay, because by the time you get to the end of this comic book, you do get a little bit of a backstory of where all these characters came from, right? So it's kind of cool the way they introduce them, you know, just like every team book in the beginning, it's like, hey, my name is, you know, Cadet Marvel, and my name is, you know, so-and-so, like Hellrune, and this and that. And really what this book is focused on is the character of Hellrune, right? You get to see all the other kids go to like their foster families and things like that. But Hellrune is bent on trying to figure out if she has any type of relatives so she can have an actual real family, right? And so it casts her off to this different place, and her friends notice that she's gone missing and that she's in danger. So they wind up going and trying to rescue her, doing all these battles against all these like Viking, like Norse god like creatures and things like that. And there was a lot going on in this comic book. Now, for me, by the time I got done reading it, this book was worthy. I'll tell you my concern about this book. My concern about this book is introducing too many characters, because as you get through the end of this comic book, you wind up getting introduced to Phantasma, who is the Ghost Rider character that was introduced. She's the chick that's on the roller skates, right? You get introduced to Spider-Boy, so he's also in this comic book as well as possibly a new champion. And then I think you got introduced to another character as well. Excuse me, by the time you get to the end. And actually, it's a whole bunch of them. The Hulkette character, there's like Juggernaut-like character in here. So the whole thing of it is do these characters have what it takes to be a new champion? So I think that's its big shtick here, is like how many people are going to actually be on this team. But remember, when you have too many players on the field, it struggles to get panel time, and you can't connect with your favorite character or a character just in general. So with that being said, after reading this first issue, I am intrigued. I am going to give this one a solid B. We're going to see where it can go. But like I said, it could get a little bit overwhelming. Magic issue 1, the newest X-Men solo title. We have too many of them, but I decided to try this one out because I like the character. This one is 32 pages for the price of $5. The book is written by Ashley Allen, and the art is done by Jermaine Peralta. The artwork in this comic book is actually pretty good. There's some nice little dark scenes that happen, like especially here in the beginning of this comic book, where she's having like this dream sequence here. And then we get introduced to like this crazy like entity, like demon like guy that holds this pistol and is wearing a cowboy hat, and she's sitting in this seal. So I thought like that's really cool too. So yeah, there were some definitely good colors in this book to make it, a little bit darker, creepier, make you feel like you're in like this magic like place, right? But what was this comic about? And was the story any good? Well, when it comes to the story, we wind up seeing a mutant actually captured in this town. She gets dragged away. Again, reminds you of this horror element. And you also see Magic suffer from this dream, that she's been having for so many days. Maybe a prelude of what's to come. It's her birthday. We got the other mutants trying to celebrate her birthday. She's like, no, I see things going out on the town. I'm going to go out on this like solo mission. I'm going to take care of it myself. And what happens is, of course, you wind up getting to see people hate mutants, right? And I hated that in the beginning of the comic because it seems like this happens in every single X-Men book. And then all of a sudden you wind up seeing demons come, and you wind up seeing this big bad again with the cowboy hat, with the pistol. And what you find out is there's these 5 seals, and once these 5 seals are broken, this creature, or this, I guess these demons, can be released to kind of take over the world. And it's Ileana's job to stop this from happening. Also, this old woman who seems like she's been a part of this forever, trying to keep the seals shut because she doesn't know if the other 4 seals are broken. And you wind up seeing something happen very bad to this woman, and that's how the mission kind of progresses. So in my eyes, this book was very much worthy. I liked how this book was just all action based. It just seemed like, okay, let's get right into the plot. Let's start our story. We got Ileana. We got this other little kid who is destined to be a sorcerer or whatever he is going to be. And we're going to, stop these seals from opening up to prevent death happening upon the world, right? There was no like eating or drinking or none of that bullshit. It just was like it got down and dirty right from the start. So definitely a book I think you should pick up. I don't think it was perfect, but I do think it was solid. So I'm going to give this one a B+. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below when it comes to Magic. Aquaman issue 1 is probably the biggest book of the week if I had to guess, at least new book anyways, when it comes to number 1. And this one is 28 pages for the price of $4. It's written by Jeremy Adams and the art is done by John Timms. Let's open up the book. Let's take a look at what it looks like. Look at that, guys. I mean, come on. That is absolutely phenomenal. Nice little 2-page spread here. I gotta love the facial expressions that Tim puts on the actual characters. And again, it's just right from the start, it captures the reader with just great action and wants you to learn Aquaman's new powers. That's right. He has new powers in here, and he actually has Mira's power. Now, remember, this is from Absolute Power, where certain characters lost their powers and they regained them, but it didn't all go back to the original status quo. Some people got things changed. Now, looks like, I don't know, Mira doesn't have her powers anymore, and Aquaman got her power. So she's training him on how to use the powers properly. Now, in this comic also, Aquaman is king of Atlantis, and he definitely sits there and says, I'm bored being king, hearing the everyday meetings, the Joe Schmo stuff, and he's just jonesing for some action, right? And I like that stuff. So in the comic book, you wind up seeing him, obviously rescue people from a crashing plane. We go to Daytona Beach, which is like 40 minutes away from my house, where he's fighting kaiju monsters, and it's just a very cool looking book. Now, the kicker of this book is this particular pearl that Jackson found, right? And we don't know what it is, okay? However, in the book, it is referenced that this orb was in Flashpoint Beyond issue 1. And so I looked it up, and sure shit, it's definitely in that book with Thomas Wayne collecting this orb at the end of this issue. And I'm trying to remember, was it Ocean Master was the one that was going to touch the trident to this orb and something was going to happen that was really bad, right? But yeah, man, it was absolutely insane because they're trying to figure out what this orb does. And by the time you wind up getting to the end of this book, you see that it opens up to a particular place. I don't want to give it away. If you had to guess, you might figure it out, but my God, this book was worthy. Like, it was fun. Listen, I'm not a big Aquaman fan. I told you guys this. I'm not a fan of like Aquaman and Namor and all those other types of characters, but this was just very entertaining. I like seeing the new power set. And, for Aquaman fans, I don't know if you will be a fan of this book just because you have a history with the character, maybe with Mira, whatever it is. And it is a little bit different maybe than what you're used to. But for maybe a new reader, for a person like me that's looking for a fresh start for the character, like I said, I liked it, and I'm going to give it a solid A. I thought it was a great book, and I'm very intrigued to see direction of this comic, what this orb is, and so on and so forth. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And there you have it, webheads. There are all my thoughts on this week's newest number ones. Let me know what you thought in the comments below and what were your favorite new number 1 comics of the week. And as always, guys, I'll leave you more content right here for you to click on. And of course, remember, support the local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember, read your comics so we can have great comic conversation just like we had today. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you real soon. Bye.